Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Coaster Kings Radio. This time we'll be continuing our China talk with South China. My name is Sean, and this is
Alex. This is Cathay, Catharsis, part 2 of 3. The last time we talked, we were discussing the eastern Chinese parks of the greater Shanghai megalopolis. This time we have taken a flight from Shanghai Pudong Airport on China Southern to Guangzhou, China, one of the largest metros in the whole entire world, the largest city propers in the whole entire world, to enjoy 6.5 different theme parks. The half is because we did something really cool that was kind of theme park-like with a really dope Intamin ride, but no roller coaster. So we will touch on that a little bit later.
So the parks we went to were Chimelong Paradise, Chondord Holiday Manor,
Chimelong Ocean Kingdom,
Happy Valley Shenzhen, Night Valley,
Guangzhou Sunac,
and then our bonus attraction, you may have heard of it, is the Canton Tower.
The Canton Tower.
One of the world's largest.
It's the fourth largest
teletower,
yeah.
Media tower.
It's the fourth largest public observation freestanding structure in the world.
And on the very top, where the antenna is, there is a Intamin drop ride attached to it.
An Intamin giant drop, like a
the
little short one.
Yeah, it's a giant.
It's like 100 feet tall, but you're already well over 1,000 feet in the air.
I think it's like 1,700 feet in the air.
Yeah,
so we're pretty high
spectacular.
We found this attraction kind of randomly while I was scrolling through the website of Intamin when I had a few moments at work. And so we learned that there was a drop tower attached to the top of the Canton Tower. But more on that in a little bit. We will go ahead and get started with our Chimelong Paradise Day, which we arrived really early in the morning in Guangzhou. Then it turned out the airport was way further away than I realized. So we had to take like an hour and a half taxi to the hotel, which was in the middle of Guangzhou, which is good because it was close to all the attractions we were trying to go to.
We stayed at a university hotel, actually, and a loft hotel.
Yeah.
And it had a really convenient train station.
Close by, which also allowed us to use metros to get to some of our attractions.
Guangzhou has a beautiful, enviable public transportation system. Just about the nicest.
Not as nice as Shanghai, but close.
One of them, yeah. I think Hong Kong is the nicest that I've seen. Tokyo's is really efficient too, but it's a little rough around the edges.
I definitely liked Shanghai and Guangzhou's better than Hong Kong, personally.
Hong Kong,
but that's just because Hong Kong is so hot out. When we were there.
That's not fair.
Everything was murky and everything smelled. So
Hong Kong does not smell, even though its name means fragrant.
Smells.
It means fragrant harbor.
Well, the fragrance I did not enjoy. So, anywho, we took a taxi from the hotel that morning to Chimelong Paradise, which is famous for its production models. Which I think they only have production models. One is slightly adjusted dive coaster.
Chimelong Paradise is the cardinal amusement park of the super, super impressive and hot, blazing the trail Chinese theme park chain, the Guangzhou-based Chimelong Holding Company or something.
I don't think it's Holding. I think they own. I think it's just a Chimelong group.
We mentioned it a little bit in the earlier podcast, the first episode of this series, about how Chimelong, even though they only have 2 resorts, which are comprised of 2...
Well, they have 3, really. They have... the sort of Chimelong group has the pre-existing Chimelong Paradise.
Right.
They have the Chimelong Ocean Kingdom, Chimelong Resort in Hanking, which we went to as well. And then there is one that is opening in just almost a year and a half from now. That is the Chimelong Safari Park, but the resort is already...
No, wait, Safari Park is the animal park next to
I'm
Paradise.
sorry, Forest Kingdom.
Forest Kingdom is the new resort.
Which opening a year and a half.
We're looking at Roller Coaster Database. Safari Park has an entry on Roller Coaster Database because they used to have a wacky worm.
They used to.
Fun
God,
fact.
That's so funny. I wonder
but
why.
Yeah, so Chimelong Paradise is composed of a dry park, the main coaster park, their water park, which has the highest attendance of any water park in the world, much to Disney's chagrin, and the safari park.
But like a significant margin.
So that's like 3 gates there, and then Ocean Kingdom has their park, the theme park, and then they have a killer whale museum under construction. And
it's going to be the world's largest indoor museum opening in 2020. Or it was the world's largest indoor theme park, they say, in 2020. So it should have a couple of attractions.
And the prestigious Chimelong Circus, which is like the Chinese Cirque du Soleil. So between these 5 operating attractions, 2 theme parks, a water park, a safari park, and a circus, they have the highest overall attendance, second highest overall attendance.
Highest overall attendance of any regional theme park destination, of any regional theme park company. However, they're pretty much moving towards being a destination theme park company.
They're 6th in the world with only their 5 attractions.
And did you mention Forest Kingdom?
Well, Forest Kingdom's under construction.
Right.
And it's going to be a lot like Ocean Kingdom because, a theme here. But like a Disney's Animal Kingdom version of sorts.
And it's actually going to be located about an hour north of Chimelong Paradise, is where Chimelong Ocean Kingdom is 2 hours south of it. So it'll be like, on the stretch of 3 hours, there will be 3 major resorts.
For those of you who don't know, Guangzhou is one of the largest metros in the world. It's the 9th largest city proper in the world, I believe, or the 9th largest metro. It's one of the two. It's still only the 3rd largest in China behind Shanghai and Beijing, but the metro itself is, still quite large, probably comparable to like the New York tri-state area metro. Like there's just a tremendous number of people, millions and millions of people, which is why which is how Chimelong is able to just operate 2 resorts with 5 total attractions and outperform Six Flags and Cedar Fair in attendance, and build a 3rd additional resort cluster inside of the same greater metro.
The greatest thing, I think, is that they are close to Hong Kong, but Hong Kong is not super accessible. Yet this company manages to completely outperform Hong Kong Disney and Ocean Park Hong Kong, which is funny because those parks are older than, for example, Chimelong Ocean Kingdom, which pulls all the plugs on attendance. 2nd highest park in China. I think Shanghai Disney slightly higher. But
Chimelong Ocean Kingdom is out for blood. We'll talk in detail about that park later, but I guess the big takeaway about that, as far as the Chimelong group and their attendance, is that they opened this park. They opened Ocean Kingdom in 2014, and it's already spanking Hong Kong Disney in attendance. Just out of control. In fact, the Hong Kong park saw a dip in attendance at around the time Shanghai Disney opened, which a lot of analysts attributed to that, but we think it has more to do with Ocean Kingdom.
Yeah, a lot of people are stating that the attendance drops seen in Hong Kong are related to Shanghai Disney, but Shanghai Disney is not that close.
It's not the same market at all.
But Chimelong Ocean Kingdom's attendance has doubled within the last
5 years.
5 years of opening.
They opened with just over 5 million in attendance in their first year in 2014.
And now they're close to 11 million for 2018, which means that we really think that the giant increase in attendance from Chimelong Ocean Kingdom is what's causing the damage at Ocean Park, Hong Kong, and Hong Kong Disneyland. But the critics have a bit of a different opinion on that.
They got to keep up.
We'll get into that later. We'll go ahead and start with
Paradise.
Chimelong Paradise. So
Chimelong Paradise, actually, we didn't really have a lot of expectations. We expected nicer than Happy Valley, but not necessarily nicer than some of the newer parks that we've seen. Like, Paradise has been around for a while. It opened in 2005, 2006. They've steadily added more roller coasters and upgraded. They used to have a smaller collection with some hokier rides, but they've exchanged some of their Chinese knockoffs for more, rides of the Swiss variety or German in terms of their Mack Youngstar coaster, or even their newest coaster, the S&S Skyrocket 2, the only such installation on that side of the planet, I believe.
I think so. I can imagine.
Certainly the only one in
Asia. Construction, yeah.
But the park was really nice. Not super cohesive in any sense. Not so much a theme park as much as just a traditional park, an amusement park. It kind of set our expectations for Ocean Kingdom to be kind of modest, which is part of the reason why Ocean Kingdom blew us away. Anyway, so we get to Chimelong Paradise, and we go to buy our tickets, and they tell Sean that he's going to be too tall to ride anything.
So they then told me after purchasing the tickets that I should just return my ticket and get a refund and not even go into the park. And I was like, well, came all the damn way out here. I'm still going to go into the park, and I'm just going to fake my way onto these attractions, which we did.
Yeah.
So after the kind of unfriendly welcome where I was literally told to just turn around and get my ticket refunded because I wouldn't be able to go
To be fair, they
anything.
told you to buy a no-ride ticket where you just get in, but, like...
Which made no sense because there was no controlling of anything.
Yeah.
You just kind of hopped on whenever. So I guess
it's kind of funny that they said... Yeah, there's like a kids under 3 and senior citizens ticket or something where you can get into the park but, like, not ride anything. I don't know how they monitor that because there's no, like... wristband
there was no wristband or
anything like that. Unless it's just the honor system, and they knew,
or they forcibly give you a stamp.
I think they just took one look at him and was like, "Well, you're not going to be able to ride anything. Nobody's going to let you ride. So the least we can do is like give you a discounted rate so that you can enjoy the park and hopefully spend money inside the park instead of paying full price to get in the park." I don't know. It was a nice gesture.
Yeah, then she wanted to give me a map and tell me about all the rides you can ride. And I was like, no, that is fine. I'll just go ahead and go inside and learn the hard way.
Anyways, we were salty as shit. But then we went straight to the dive machine because
which is technically too tall for.
Yeah.
However.
Spoiler alert, he got on every coaster except for one, which we'll get to in a sec. But there wasn't anything that he was denied access to upon seeing him. Contrary to what the ride operator, or contrary to what the people at the front of the park were saying, which is that they would take one look at him and tell him no. We rode dive coaster first, and that was actually really fun. It's another 10 across dive machine. I guess there's only 3. 2 of them are in China, and the third one is Griffin. The other 10 across we rode at Happy Valley in Shanghai shortly before, and it's like the augmented Sheikra layout. This could almost qualify as augmented Sheikra, but there's a little bit more to it than that. It has pretty much all of Sheikra's elements in the same order, but it's shaped a little differently.
And it's a little shorter than the diving coaster we rode in Happy Valley, Shanghai. It's actually
this one's shorter.
Well, height-wise, it is actually only 196. Right. That's about 18.
This was the longest dive machine in the world, I believe, until Yukon Striker opened.
No, it's longer than Valravn. I thought Valravn broke the length record.
Really? I mean, Valravn...
This was 3,200 feet. Let's see what Valravn was.
Valravn ain't shit. I don't care how long it is or how tall it is. But I digress.
Valravn is actually 200 feet longer, so...
Okay, so Valravn broke the length record. I knew it was one of the two. I knew it had to have been Yukon Striker, but maybe not necessarily Valravn. Yukon Striker looks dope, by the way, except for the vests. It's a pity. Anyways, the dive coaster at Chimelong Paradise was wonderful. Not necessarily particularly unique or anything, but, I love a good dive machine. Not terribly thematically interesting, but if anything, it just makes me appreciate our
it kind of marked the new entrance to the park that they added in 2008.
True.
So even though the park opened in 2006, they added the new gate in 2008 when they created the Rainbow Ridge.
Is that the water park?
Or, no, the entrance. They call it the entrance.
Yeah.
Remember because of the splash of the water of the ride, so they call that
they opened the park and then installed a second entrance to the park opposite from where the old entrance was, I think. And in doing so, they created this amazing new plaza with the dive coaster in it. And then this is also on the side of the park where you can connect to the water park. We didn't go to the water park, but the water park is extremely famous inside water park enthusiast circles for having the first installation of the water slide Ferris wheel, or the slide wheel. Who is it that designed that again? Is it Vegan?
The slide wheel?
Yeah.
I think the slide wheel is Whitewater West or something else. It's one of the big companies that we use in the US. Let's see.
Anyways, if you've seen the viral video of the spinning water slide wheel thing, that is actually at Chimelong Paradise. Sort of their victory lap upon breaking the attendance record and stealing it from Typhoon Lagoon at Disney World. I think it was a pretty solid, resounding sky's the limit declaration for them. I find the slide wheel concept completely terrifying, but I mean,
Oh, that's actually Weekend. I didn't believe they made that. Yeah.
So okay, it was. I thought that was that maybe it was crazy of me to think of, but yeah, it's the company that builds the Alpine coasters, the good ones. There's a couple companies doing those. Well, there's multiple good companies doing them. I guess there's a couple that aren't very good, but Weekend is the I guess the standard in Alpine coaster and Alpine slides, and apparently they also build water slides now.
Like the water slide festival.
Yeah.
Terrifying looking.
We're double checking. We're looking at a video of it. Honestly, it looks like a nightmare. I mean, I would probably ride it. I would probably be not a happy camper.
It looks really cool though. I would love to ride it.
It looks super, super amazing. Like a real focal point. It kind of looks like a flower with 5 petals. Each petal's a different color.
And you go backwards and forwards.
And I guess I trust Wagon. I trust their products.
Rotates.
They're an amazing company, so I shouldn't be too timid about it. But anyways, so we didn't do the water park, but we did see the slide wheel from the top of Dive Coaster. And we were kind of like, oh yeah, that's here too. That's this park. That's so wild. The dive machine was great. Then we went, we kind of continued around the park counterclockwise. We rode the Skyrocket, which is a perfect clone of the original Skyrocket 2.
At Sigler Discovery Kingdom, Superman Ultimate Flight. Theming-wise, it was sort of space themed, but very, very colorful, like everything else in the park. They had giant switchback setup, because this park gets pretty high attendance for a park to have a Skyrocket with 2 car vehicles. But it was a good ride. Nothing bad to say about it. I mean, it wasn't spectacular, but that's because we've been on how many? 5, 6?
The last 3 different Skyrocket credits we've gotten have all been the 3 SeaWorld Parks Entertainment Skyrockets. So it's been a minute since we've ridden
the two
vehicle no comfort collar version. So that was kind of nice. It's nice to be a little bit more free in the upper body. But other than that, I don't mind the 3-car trains on Tigris or whatever. You get that cracking the whip effect coming over and down the various drops and transitions and whatnot. But yeah, it was a credit. It's a cool one for China, even though it's one that we're getting pretty familiar with being a production model in the U.S. For this market, for China, this is amazing. It makes sense because China is full of the Mauer Skyloop coasters and knockoff versions of the Skyloop coaster. And I think a lot of people would comfortably claim that the Skyrocket 2 is similar to the Skyloop, but a perfected, much more interesting and comfortable version with, a launch, and it does more, better capacity, while kind of looking the same and having the same footprint and having that same, eye-catching vertical looping thing, but I think being much more of a crowd pleaser. So it was actually, I would say, would be a perfect fit for this park. Considering how enamored the region is with Mauer Skyloops. This is, the evolved version of the vertical looping launched coaster, which is, I guess, would explain all the switchbacks. But yeah, it wasn't too crowded when we went.
Yeah, we were pretty early in the day.
Well, we got there on Wednesday or something.
I don't remember. No, I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
It had to be a Wednesday. We did Changwon Ocean Kingdom on Thursday. Yeah.
So that was pretty good. And then I tried riding the Vekoma motorbike, which is the same as Booster Bike in Toverland in the Netherlands. However, they completely modded the seats, and for that reason, I was not able to ride.
Yeah, they had a weird leg brace thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but it was definitely an aftermarket mod that we weren't really expecting. And as soon as Sean sat down and attempted to pull the lap bar or the bar thing forward, it just it stopped way short. Yeah. The back bar, the way that the harness is closed, it's all kind of connected. You pull the lap bar, the handlebars forward to engage the back bar, and there was a huge gap between him and the back bar because of where the leg brace, which is attached to the handlebar, which is attached to the back bar, came up on his legs. So, unfortunately, just by sitting down and attempting, it was clear that he wouldn't be able to safely ride. And he actually did not get kicked off. He went quietly on his own accord before the ride operator could even suggest.
Well, the ride operator was looking at me. And it was like,
well, everyone was looking, and we were like, oh.
I mean, I was clearly the tallest person in that entire park. But, yeah, so that didn't work. But that's fine.
At least they let you, I mean, we were on our own journey, man. Like, we figured it out. You didn't have to be told by anyone. No one got up in your face and said you couldn't ride, which is kind of nice.
True. And luckily I have the original version credit in the Netherlands, so that's good.
And for the record, like, this was one of the original coasters at the park, and it feels like it. Honestly, the coasters, like the three remaining opening season coasters at Chimelong are not running that well. I feel like the booster bike was like running over gravel. Like the wheels were shot and needed to be replaced. It was still fine. It paced okay. The layout's good. But the one at Toverland is so much smoother, despite being older by a year, I believe. We then walked over to the back of the park, which is where the Intamin 10 inversion coaster is, but it was closed upon approaching it, so we kind of continued our loop around.
Luckily, it did say it was going to open at noon, and then it opened even before noon, so that was great. So we looked around, went to their half-pipe coaster, which is one of the diverse versions.
This is the original Intamin half-pipe.
Which means that the track was actually flat, which made for horrible tracking. My feet could definitely get stuck between the vehicle and the ride platform. It was sketchy, honestly. But they just told me to lift my feet and then I could ride. And I was like, okay, I'll take it for the credit.
That was very nice of them to be like, you can ride, just don't be stupid. But yeah, this was one of the original three. There were actually 4 Intamin half-pipes built. 3 of which opened, and then a smaller version was built in Japan on the rooftop of a Don Quixote shopping plaza, which never opened because when they tested the ride, they realized that by operating it, they were compromising the structural integrity of the building in which the shopping plaza was located. So the half-pipe has been SB&O ever since. But the 3 that did open, Chimelong's, the one at Sarkaniemi in Finland, and the half-pipe at Elitch Gardens, these rides feature the older style Intamin harness that resemble the looping coasters like Colossus at Thorpe Park. And then shortly thereafter, the Surf Coaster, which is the second generation half-pipe coaster, was introduced, which used a more traditional tubular track bed system, and the seats were replaced with larger, wider versions that feature the over-the-shoulder shoulder harness setup similar to, like, you know, rides like Storm Runner or like Maverick opened with the harder shoulder restraints, but more accommodating for adult riders. The half-pipe was fun. It was a credit. It just felt like we were riding over gravel. I can't really put my finger on it.
First I thought it was a ripoff. I was like, why is it ride like this? But then it turned out to be an actual Intamin.
I'm so used to the one at Mall of America, which is a surf rider, and it's so buttery smooth. And I don't remember the ones in Finland and Elitch Gardens being rough either, but this one was just like, what is this? We had to double check online to make sure it was actually legitimate.
And then we went for lunch, which was whatever, because you couldn't find any vegetarian food, so I just ate like the veggies that came with Alex's meal. And then
You did eat a lot of bok choy on this trip, didn't you?
True. Bok choy was the only option. And then we saw 10 inversion operating, so we rode 10 inversion.
No, we rode Youngstar first.
Oh, that's right. We did ride Youngstar first. If you hear that noise, that's our cats.
Our children are roughhousing. We apologize. But they're so cute. We can't be mad at them.
Anyways, we rode the Youngstar coaster, which is a regular Youngstar coaster from Mack. However, the first drop has been significantly shortened to the point where, like, it just levels. You have a little part of the ride where you just go straight.
It's just a flat piece of track hovering in the air.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, it clears part of the gift shop, but on that, I don't see any purpose for it existing.
Weird. It's the same basic layout as the original Youngstar installation, which is Pegasus at Europa Park, except Pegasus at Europa Park lacks an additional upward helix. Yeah. In the middle of the ride, there's an upward helix that is installed on all other of the Youngstar clones. They couldn't use that helix on the Europa Park installation because of interfering superstructure from the Poseidon water coaster that stands directly above it. There's 2 other Youngstar installations that have the full drop, like Pegasus and the upward helix. Youngstar at Chimelong has the upward helix, but no full drop. Still a really fun ride.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the best family rides ever built. Very, very good.
The second drop's pretty strong because that kind of takes the place of the first drop since the first drop barely exists. The second drop is almost like it's kind of buried in the ground.
It's very smooth. Sometimes Macs kind of have this Mac rattle from the get-go, but this thing doesn't at all.
A little bit, yeah. Gerslauers do it too. But not so bad. Not enough to really detract from the experience. But yeah, Youngstar Chimelong was smooth as butter and has a very cool steampunk Pegasus horse lead car, which looks amazing. Great photograph kind of thing. But unfortunately, if you're sitting in the front seat, kind of obstructs your view. Kind of like Big Thunder Mountain syndrome. But a good ride in any case. And serves as the park's only kiddie coaster or kiddie coaster-like ride. It's quite large to be considered a kiddie coaster. However, they don't have
still
anything
very
else.
family friendly. Yeah.
Pretty much everything else in the park goes upside down, except for half pipe. That brings us to the be-all, end-all upside-down coaster, at least for its time, 10 inversion coaster.
Which, of course, is a clone of Colossus at Thorpe Park. Has 10 inversions, 5 of which are barrel rolls, because when you do 10 inversions, you cannot be original, so you have to copy yourself, apparently. Even though B&M had already done 8 inversion roller coasters that did not clone any elements, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
And the coaster style was not too bad. It was not the smoothest. I would say it was a little rattly for what I was expecting. Comfort is not there. There's no legroom. But overall, I was glad to ride it. It was a credit I kind of wanted to ride. Didn't live up to my expectations, but it's a fun coaster nonetheless. So,
for all of you Intamin nerds out there, this is the only true clone of Colossus at Thorpe. The other 5 such installations of the Intamin 10 inversion looping coaster all feature
newer, so have an actual drop versus
they have curve. A swooping diving drop and lap bar only trains. None of the 10 inversion, like the next gen 10 inversion coasters, have been installed anywhere that we've been. They're in kind of some interesting places. There's one in Russia. There's one in Italy, which a friend of mine has ridden and said that wasn't very good, which is unfortunate.
Isn't there one in Turkey?
There's one in Turkey.
And then Flamingo Land is
building one, which is funny because it's
near Thorpe Park.
It's like 2 hours from Thorpe Park, I think. Maybe more than that. I mean, they're about as far away as they can be and still be on the island, I think, but still geographically close by the standards of even the Brits who say, why would you build this? Because Thorpe Park has had this for, 18 years. It'll be 18 years when
this will be a much better version, though.
Hopefully. It was actually purchased secondhand in pieces from Hopi Hari in Rio, in Brazil, or Sao Paulo, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Sao Paulo, Brazil. They had purchased the ride with intent to build it, and it was delayed, and it never happened. And the park, luckily, is still thriving as Sao Paulo's only amusement park, regional amusement, like full-sized regional park with a variety of coasters. But unfortunately, their beautiful new 10-loop coaster just was not meant to be, and so now it is Flamingo Land's next project.
And then that was it. We finished the park way earlier than we expected.
Wait, we did that dark ride thing.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Well,
it's kind of like a studio tour Hollywood kind of attraction where a giant tram just stands there in the middle of a.
If anyone here is familiar with like Fast and Furious Supercharged or
pretty much Fast and
Island
Furious
Reign of Kong,
Fast and Furious in space. It was fun.
It was actually
the story,
better.
But...
It was way better than Fast and Furious, but instead of like a moving vehicle, you just walked into this giant circular, like ovular circle theater. And you sat in this tram that was stationary with a rooftop and put on your 3D glasses. It was actually, it was interesting. It was new. It was their new ride. That was one of the things that they've actually added since expanding over to Chimelong Ocean Kingdom. And a totally different kind of attraction than anything else in the park. Like they don't have a dark ride or anything of that nature. They've got lots of flats. They have a drop tower that.
They have another temple-themed dark ride, which you tried waiting for, but there was a million school kids who were like, bye.
Oh, remember? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was some sort of dark ride.
Yeah, I don't even remember what that was, but yeah.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from this park is that it's nicely maintained, lots of gardens, but everything is just like colored oddly. They just put colors everywhere. Like it's very, very colorful, but none of it is cohesive.
According to the park map, this place has like 10 themed areas, but
there's no theme.
There's no cohesion. It's all just rainbow vomit explosion.
Yeah, so you see a bunch of planters, but then every single planter is colored a different color. And
so many orchids and lilies.
And then the same building has 4 different colors on the window frames. There's just colors everywhere, which is real cute, but it's just not. I don't know, it didn't look too good, which made us kind of scared for Chamlang Ocean Kingdom. But that turned out to be a whole different thing. But speaking of cohesion, there's actually a park that was really close by called Changlord Holiday Manor, which, believe it or not, had such amazing cohesion. The entire park felt like 100% the same thing.
Basically what happened is this. It was like 2 o'clock.
Earlier, it was like noon.
It was, yeah.
We got on 10 inversion early, and we were like, all right.
Once we rode 10 inversion coaster and rode the 3D movie dark ride thing, we were kind of done. Like, we didn't really need to do anything else in the park.
We rode the drop tower, but that was it.
The drop tower was really fun. It kind of looked like an Intamin drop tower,
but it was not. It was a different company.
It might have been Zamperla. It's in this like circus-themed area of the park where all the rides are Zamperla, including the motorbike coaster. Oh, no, that was Vekoma. They had a Zamperla air race and a disco, some other Zamperla rides. Yeah, we did our coasters. We did some extracurriculars. We walked around. We took lots of pictures, but we ran out of park pretty much, and we had a lot of time. We were planning on doing the Canton Tower that evening after dark, but we still had 5 hours of daylight at least. So we pulled up Roller Coaster Database and looked for parks nearby, and we found, sure enough, a park with allegedly 9 roller coasters, just like a few miles away. So we left the park, called a taxi. Translated the name. Actually, I think Roller Coaster Database has the name in Cantonese, which is amazing. And so we just showed Roller Coaster Database to the taxi driver, and he took us there. Thank you, Roller Coaster Database.
The strange thing was that the taxi was out of gas, and there was this old man driving the taxi. We're like on the freeway, and it just starts like, it just starts shaking the car, and I was like, we're like nowhere near
his
anything.
His gas tank was empty for the whole ride.
I don't know how the hell he made it 20 minutes away. I don't know how he made it because the car was shaking on the freeway, and I was like,
the only thing I can think of is that maybe his gas gauge is broken, and he can just like predict based on like maybe he just gets his tank filled.
But like anytime we stop at a gas station, I mean, every time we stop at a traffic light, the car would like hardly be able to start again. It was just like, all right, we're gonna be done here. Like, when are we gonna be done? Is this car gonna sit here?
The important thing is we arrived. We did make it to Chunlord Holiday Manor in one piece, and we had no idea what to expect with this place. We were definitely leaping into the.
It was off the grid when it comes to theme parks. Totally, like there was no English. I mean, there was some English, but it was one of those places where there was no taxi stands. It was off like the beaten path on some weird road.
Every ride here is a Chinese build.
Everything is knockoff. There's not a single like Western manufacturer. Every single roller coaster has green supports and yellow track. All 9 of them. Every single midway is covered in fake vines. I mean, the cool thing was that the park in recent years completely remodeled. They pretty much kicked out everything they had, and they completely rebuilt the entire park.
We looked at old pictures of it in Roller Coaster Database, and the park was actually ugly as hell.
And that was one of the prettiest parks I've ever been to.
They pretty much demolished everything and started over. The park is actually set up a lot like the Prater or like a German fun fair of sorts, except it's permanent. You enter the park by purchasing a rechargeable card that you can put credits on. In fact, entering the park and buying admission comes with a certain amount of credits that you can use to either ride the rides or play the games or make purchases. The place is just flush with attractions. I don't think
they had like 10 dark rides.
I can't believe the number of
shooting
rides
galleries, 9 roller coasters, flat rides for days, kiddie rides, restaurants were all open. Like
arcade games that were also rides,
all open,
interactive, multimodal attractions, lots of shopping, amazing atmosphere.
The park wasn't that busy, but God, it had everything open, everything operating. It was so un-Chinese, and at the same time, it was so Chinese.
Unfamiliar. I mean, honestly, like you have to go to the website and just look at pictures of this place because it's unlike anything we've ever seen. In fact, it's hard for us to compare it to anything because it's so different. It feels more like a really nice outdoor market with like really nice shade structures and lots of foliage and flowers and wooden like lumber architecture, but also with tons and tons of rides, like 100 rides easily, just tons. We didn't even see everything. and then rides on top of buildings, on top of other rides. A big lagoon in the center with lots of boats that you can ride in or walk around on. And just all kinds of themed attractions and things. We don't exactly know how it works as far as like tenantship. We think that vendors do rent out portions.
I think vendors rent out, not the rides. I think the rides are part of the park, but I think that the vendors are like the different restaurants, because there were so many restaurants that were all staffed,
and
all
like
open.
The shops.
So many certain shops, all
stuff.
open.
But it was just such a revolutionary system for everything to be on the card, and for the card to not just be... I mean, it's like going to Dave & Buster's, where like everything is on the card,
the whole
but also the rides too. Rides, games, shops, everything.
So
you could use cash to buy stuff too, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You put
the great thing is that if this park were to be a major U.S. park, I would completely believe it and say like this is successful. But the only difference was that it was kind of off the grid, and the people just didn't speak English there. So we tried pointing at rides, like, you can ride that. They were, like, laughing. They were like, you guys are so big and Western. You're the first white people I've seen in a year.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? And we're like, who's going to ride this?
Yeah.
And so eventually there was one rider who said, no, you can't ride this. You have to ride together. Obviously, we're going to fit in this, like, jungle mouse.
It was a little wild mouse called Jungle Squirrels. And we basically kind of...
They told us you can't sit there, and we were laughing.
We strong-armed them into letting us ride in our own vehicles.
So we just sat down and we're like, we're going to ride like this. And they were laughing. They just pressed the dispatch
button. They were laughing.
I
don't think... they scanned our card, too. I didn't know we had credits on it.
Yeah, I don't understand how any of that works.
But they were just so tickled. Like, even if we could understand
what
they were saying, they were laughing so hard. They were hysterical because we were there.
It was almost like... I don't know. I just felt like they were. I
got the feeling that
laughing at us. They were like, "What the hell are they doing here?" They're so...
I mean, we were laughing too because it's insane. Laughing. This is crazy. We're probably now a story that they tell to their family. Like, you wouldn't believe these freaking white people just showed up into the park. They're like 7 feet tall. And they came in here to ride all the baby rides.
7 feet because they used the imperial system. Totally.
Right. I'm sorry. You're right.
These 2 meter tall dudes.
You're right. I know it. Okay. But seriously, Jungle Squirrels was amazing.
It was really fun.
It was so
almost died.
Fun. John really almost got decapitated. I have video evidence of this.
I was like, ah! This little squeak.
The park actually had some major roller coasters, including a Chinese-built double loop, double corkscrew in kind of the vein of an aero coaster, and also a knockoff Mauer Sky Loop. However, we were denied both of these coasters for being both too tall and too fat.
Yeah, we were overweight.
So we absolutely were not allowed to ride. However, Jungle Mouse and then the self-spinning pulley.
Which I'm technically 15 centimeters too long for, which is quite too tall.
Self-spinning pulley is just the weird Chinese name for a golden horse spinning mouse using the Mauer style back-to-back spinning cars on a traditional wild mouse layout.
The best thing about those is that there's an unloading station, loading station. It's a perfect system.
It is a cool system.
I can't believe they're not.
It's like a little S-shaped, like zigzag.
It's like a U-shape.
Yeah.
You come into the station, and then like the train will just
especially if
around
you've got like loose articles. You put them in on one side, and it's like like a bookcase with no back to it.
Yeah, it was smart. I liked it. The ride was kind of sketchy, but it was pretty fun.
And it didn't spin very much because they had
hell of restraints.
Yeah, it has a lap bar and a 3-point seatbelt.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked, but it was wild. And then they put seatbelts around the lap bar on your feet.
Yeah,
because lap bars. I think
all the golden horse spinners are like that.
Because this lap bar's probably come on down.
First, I thought it was like a fluke, but this is the third golden horse spinner that I've ridden, and they're all like that. So I guess that's just golden horse, doing their weirdness.
Being all golden.
But God, I'm so we were hesitant about coming to this place because we were like, this is how ambitious tourists disappear is when they start wandering off the beaten path. But this was one of our favorite parks of the southern China part of our tour.
In true Chonglord fashion, we couldn't actually leave the resort because there's no taxis, there were no cars. So eventually this one car just drove by and we kind of stopped it when someone came out. They were like, can we jump into a car? We need to go here. We gave him the car to the hotel, which is still an hour away. And he was like, I'm not so sure about it, but we kind of already jumped to the car.
Some guy
so we offered him cash.
May or may not have been a taxi driver.
This is the second incident of us jumping into some sort of car and going for it.
But I mean, hey, I think we paid him $200.
We paid him pretty good money.
Yeah, we paid him handsomely. I think we were just so grateful. I think we told him we'll pay you whatever we want. We just need to get back to the hotel.
And back at the hotel, we were kind of tired, but we had set our minds on going to the Canton Tower, which again is that 1,700 or 1,800 foot tall mega media tower in the middle of Guangzhou. So we went to the metro station, bought a metro pass, and made our way over to the Can Tower stop. And then went to the Can Tower, which is cool. Very, very beautiful. There should be an update on the website by the time you hear this.
Yeah, we're going to build it, like kind of a normal amusement park update because we have enough pictures for it. Okay. I pulled up Wikipedia just as to assist. The Canton Tower is over 600 meters tall, which for Americans, that's over 1,900 feet tall. Exactly.
It's almost 2,000. It's 1982. So.
Yeah, 1,982 feet tall. And the Canton Tower is a gorgeous and exciting step in Guangzhou's global recognition. Like we've mentioned on this episode and the episode before, Guangzhou is the biggest city you've never heard of. It's not a tourist center the way that Beijing or Shanghai is, but it's every bit
Hong Kong,
as powerful and prominent. In fact, for 2 or 3 years...
It's actually considered the biggest industry city in the world, so the main reason that you haven't heard of it is because your products come from China, they come from Guangzhou.
If you have an iPhone, it probably came from Guangzhou.
No, Pegatron.
Well, Pegatron's in Guangzhou.
Well, they're also in Shanghai.
They have them in Shanghai, too.
That's where all the iPhone taboo happened.
True. Anyways, Guangzhou is famous for being an electronic manufacturing hub.
Anything.
So there's a really good chance that something in your house that is electronic was made in Guangzhou.
Either it's not electronic, there's a lot of coal going on, coal burning for energy, which is big in China still. So, in fact, that city was so incredibly filled up with smog. Like, there was times we would be on the freeway, you couldn't see the building next to the freeway, it was just smog.
Oh, so fun fact, the CN Tower in Canada was the tallest tower in the world, and then the Canton Tower broke that record
in 2011.
In 2009. And then in 2011, the record was then surpassed by the Tokyo Skytree.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought it opened in 2011.
Tokyo Skytree being the first freestanding structure to exceed 2,000 feet. And now the Burj Khalifa remains the tallest tower, is the tallest tower in the world. And since then, the Oriental Pearl Tower in Shanghai, which we have visited on our first trip to Shanghai together, is since been built and is actually taller than the Canton Tower. So even though the Oriental Pearl Tower in Shanghai has never been the tallest tower in the world, it's now taller than the Canton Tower, but still, 4th tallest in the world, 2nd tallest in China, and this...
Wait, 2nd tallest in China?
Yeah, because the Pearl Tower is taller.
No, Pearl Tower is not taller.
Yes,
Pearl Tower is much older. The Pearl Tower is much older.
Are we? Oh no, not the Pearl Tower. I'm sorry. The other, the tall thing in Shanghai. The tall
I was
one.
like, what the hell? The Pearl Tower
really
is
tall, not the Pearl Tower. The
okay.
really tall. The tallest building in Shanghai, which is a business high-rise, is the 3rd tallest building in the world. But it's not like a public,
it's not like an observation
tourist
deck.
thing. It's actually like...
It's usually media towers that are
so,
used for touristing.
I don't think you can go up inside this tower the way that you can with, the Skytree or the Burj Khalifa.
So once on top of the Canton Tower... There's 2 attractions. Well, first of all, there are several decks of looking at things and museums and, the usual observation tower
stuff. You enter
stuff.
the tower. It's beautiful. There's a whole lot going on. You go into the first room. At the top is an indoor, glistening white observation deck area. And then you go just
cloud deck.
One story up, and then it's all dark.
Then there's a star deck.
Then there's the star deck,
which is all dark.
Which is great for nighttime viewing because there's way less light pollution.
Yeah, I don't know why the cloud deck had so much light at night because you'll be in there and you can even look out the window because it used to be the white floor reflecting onto the window.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, of course, aesthetic.
That's where the big gift shop is at the top of the tower. Is inside the cloud deck, so it's just super well lit on principle for aesthetic reasons. And then you go up to the star deck.
It's dark.
Which is much darker, so you can enjoy the views of Guangzhou out the window without the glare. From there, you can continue up to an outdoor portion of the tower.
Which only if you have purchased for the upgradable packages, which you need to take an extra elevator up. And then upstairs, there's 2 attractions. There is a horizontal Ferris wheel, which has pods to ride on that circular Ferris wheel thing.
The Canton Tower has a circular, ovular rim of sorts, and this this tram, the circular bubble tram. It was Bubble something. That was the name of it. It was like the Bubble.
Scuttle?
It was like Bubble Train or something. It had a cute name. And it was basically like a hubless Ferris wheel turned on its side, where the bubble cars traveled around the lip of the Canton Tower. We didn't really feel the need to do that because we were kind of enjoying it's you're up there, you're practically 2,000 feet up, and you're already outside, and you're kind of enjoying being up there in the elements. I didn't feel the need to cram myself into a bubble.
Well, we hadn't even purchased it because we had purchased our tickets outside the tower, obviously,
right.
And then we went. So we had purchased the drop tower tickets, which the drop tower was not very tall, but it was amazing. So you get up there and you think you can see a lot, but then you get onto the drop tower, and all of a sudden you're like way above the tower, looking down like 2,000 feet.
The drop tower is so spectacular that we actually, while we were up there, bought a second ticket to ride it again.
We rode it, we're like, holy crap. So we exited the platform, and then we bought new tickets to get back upstairs, and then ride it again, and then we hung out for a little bit. Amazing, amazing. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, there's nothing in the world I've ever done or will ever do that's going to be that spectacular, where you're just floating 2,000 feet into the air. And even though the drop isn't that tall, you're just floating in the sky, in the open air, just floating, and then you just drop.
The whole experience was honestly like greater than the sum of its parts. It was nostalgic because it's a traditional Intamin second generation drop tower, like a mid '90s Intamin drop tower, like from my childhood at Great America. So it's nostalgic, but at the same time, it's really unique and very futuristic. Obviously, the application of it. What's funny is that it's not actually a vertical drop.
It's actually a bit of a slope.
It's sloped just barely. We've got pictures and video and stuff online that accentuate the sloped nature of this. When you're riding it, you don't really notice that well. I would say it's at like an 89 degree angle or something. It's very, very slight.
Yeah, maybe like 87 or something. Yeah, like it is. When you're there, it's obviously an angle, but it doesn't matter when you're in the sky because there's nothing around you.
There's actually two cabins for it. There is a sit-down side on one side of the little drop tower bit, and then on the opposite side, they had a
stand-up
floorless like acrophobia at Six Flags Over Georgia.
An actual tilting one.
Like a tilt, but it wasn't open.
But it's just the reason that the height limit is so incredibly low, because when it tilts and you're on an aerated angle, your feet pretty much if you're too tall to touch the tower.
So yeah, Sean actually well exceeded the height maximum for the drop tower, but they were kind enough to...
They weren't paying attention because I think the side that was open was the side that didn't have any dangers.
Yeah, probably.
Because the stand-up side would have been a different story, that thing.
I think the side that was open was the better looking side anyways.
Anyway, yeah, because you were looking at the better direction. Yeah.
But
that was really cool. The only thing I want to advise everyone is that you are required a passport here to purchase tickets. And you use a passport machine, which you were lucky enough to be able to use some of our pictures and kind of put in information and then show our Florida ID and actually get our tickets. But in this region, it is very, very common for you to be asked for your passport, as we'll learn in a little bit later on too. So just have your passport with you, I guess, is my tip.
I know it sounds crazy to travel with your passport to like anything that doesn't require like transiting in and out of the country, but in China, it's getting more and more common that your passport is necessary for you to
purchase
imbibe in any leisure activity. But yeah, aside from that, the Canton Tower was one of my favorite things that we did on this trip, and probably one of my favorite things that we've ever done together.
That was cool.
It was...
Also, I'd never heard of anyone that went onto the Canton Tower.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at pictures of it before, and then I realized there was a route, and I was like, we have to go.
It's so amazing, and I can't believe that we didn't know about it until you, by sheer luck, stumbled on it.
I mean, I still wanted to do the tower, but I had no clue it was a route.
I mean, come
on. I would have not known.
It has an Intamin drop tower, like a classic... like mid-90s classic. Intamin, giant drop. I mean, it brought back so many memories, and it made me so happy. It was like, you find home in some of the most unlikely places, and at the top of this observation tower in a city that I didn't really know about prior to researching this trip, we found just a good old Intamin, just chilling off the grid.
And even though it was spectacular, it was not nearly as spectacular as our next day, our Chamlong Ocean Kingdom Day, which Chamlong Ocean Kingdom is now our favorite theme park, and we're going to go talk all about it. So if you're ready to hear about the same park for a little bit, Good, because we are
going to fanboy about Ocean Kingdom.
So where to start? We'll start with the fact that we got a taxi, and everyone's like, "That's so far away. Do you not want to go Chamlang Ocean? Do you not want to go to Chamlang Paradise?" We're like, "No, we went to Chamlang Paradise."
Are you sure that you don't want to go to Paradise?
And I had made this little card that had both Chamlang Paradise's address on it and Chamlang Ocean Kingdom Paradise, and they kept flipping around. I was like, "No, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Ocean Kingdom. Like, get us in taxi to the right place." And so eventually we get in a taxi, and this drive took forever. We're like going all the way down to the ocean.
2.5 hours.
We're like driving from all the way to Hong Kong.
Luckily, we left really early, so we left really early there at like rope drop.
So we're there about opening. Tickets were pretty expensive, and we get there, and it looks a little sun faded because it's like on the ocean, and it's hot out there. It's like Florida down there, and so first impression, I was like, "Oh no, I hope this is not like Chamlang Paradise. I hope it's better." And then like we walked inside, and like our lives just changed. It was freaking amazing.
The main midway, the entrance midway, like almost all great theme parks, it's centered around a lagoon. You have your entrance midway, which here it's a enclosed midway with a giant LED screen ceiling in the shape of a manta ray.
Yeah,
so cool. That's pretty dope. Like that's their entrance marquee is this manta ray.
And it is to get into the ocean.
You
enter.
You go through and enter. You're transitioning from the real world, the human world, into the Ocean Kingdom. At the opposite side of the lagoon, from where you enter, is
their castle, which is actually a giant whale shark structure with inside a whale shark aquarium.
Yes, the well over 200 feet tall giant whale shark.
Also used for mega projection mapping and fireworks.
Like leaping out of the ocean practically is...
So it looks like the lagoon in front of you, there's a giant whale shark jumping out of it, but really there's like midway around it and you can like enter, obviously, the whale shark aquarium. Then there is several major areas. We're kind of going to discuss this by area because there's just so much to talk about.
So much to talk about.
You have the Main Street area, which is again like the covered canopy LED screen entering the ocean. Then you have... On the right-hand side, when you enter, you're going to have Dolphin Cove, which has several kinds of unique dolphins. We'll just start there. So
it has Chinese river dolphins.
Which is really unique.
One of the only places in the world where you can see those.
Yep, and it's like the whole story here is because in Guangzhou, some famous person got rescued by a Chinese river dolphin when they like drowned or something. So like here we go. It's really particular to the region. Everyone loves it. So they have Chinese river dolphins. They have
Pacific bottlenose dolphins.
Pacific white-sided dolphins.
Oh, white-sided dolphins.
Which are located in their own different exhibit, which is really nice. All these exhibits have above and underground viewing, and then there is the giant dolphin theater, which is home to a really good dolphin show with like high diving, and it's kind of like SeaWorld's Blue Horizons reimagined by Chamlang Ocean Kingdom. It didn't feel too original, but it was good though. There was a lot of dolphins. They have this little scene where they put a volunteer child into a boat that gets pulled around the lagoon by dolphins while other dolphins jump around it. And I was so goddamn jealous of the little child.
Most importantly, they play the music from Titanic.
Oh, yes. It was an emotional experience.
They're literally playing Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On while this little boy is being toted around in an inflatable dinghy by a dolphin.
It was so beautiful.
I was
this
dying.
Chinese child.
I was literally dying.
I was so jealous. I wanted to be singing Titanic while dolphins are jumping around me. It was spectacular.
I want to point out that this park is equal parts animal exhibits and non-animal related attractions, and almost every animal exhibit is like a perfect 10 out of 10.
You know, we're going to tell you this, and you got to keep this in mind while we talk about the rest. We lived a few feet from SeaWorld Orlando, and I have like no interest in going to SeaWorld Orlando anymore because Chamlang Ocean Kingdom just beat the piss out of SeaWorld Orlando, and at SeaWorld Orlando, it's just there. Like, I don't know. I come there, I'm like, wow, Kraken, you are boring and not themed.
The only thing that
SeaWorld
currently has over Ocean Kingdom is the orcas.
Oh, and orcas. Well, the orcas are already in Chamlang Ocean Kingdom.
Chamlang Ocean Kingdom's second gate, the giant indoor theme park museum, is all about orcas. But yeah, like the exhibits and stuff, like, remember how amazingly landscaped they were?
Everything is so landscaped. The entire park is so beautiful.
It's
so polished.
The definition of polish
is defined. There is dolphin characters inside the walkways, and everything is complete. Like the foliage is really, really beautiful.
Just like
it's lush because it's like a jungle down there.
Like a single dolphin exhibit with like just the terraformed walkways leading from the upper deck to the lower deck of the observation areas with like topiaries and manicured hedges and different kinds of flowers and trees. For us, just one of the multiple dolphin exhibits.
I'm not kidding you. Like, yeah, Dolphin Cove has 3 dolphin exhibits and then a dolphin ride and a giant dolphin theater. And all this is complete. Like, every inch of it is custom designed and looks beautiful. And this is like a really small corner of the park. The Dolphin Cove is the smallest part of the park.
Basically outclassed SeaWorld Orlando.
Just so take that.
Area, because it was so spectacularly done. And they have a Dumbo ride where you ride on the back of a dolphin,
which is cool.
That's the obligatory ride of that area.
So like just there, we spent a good hour. I mean, this is not in chronological order because we went all over that park. We were there opening to close. We were there 12 hours.
We did one lap just to hit all the credits, and then we, continued.
Well, that was the plan to hit all the credits, but after Parrot Coaster, we didn't make it to Polar Explorer till like hours later, and then we didn't make the Water Splash till 4 p.m.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. We ended up pacing ourselves because we ended
up getting just distracted by the amazingness of this park.
We got so wrapped up in like the experience that we forgot to be credit whores. That's how amazing this park is.
So the next area we're going to talk about is the area that's home to Parrot Coaster, which is the rainforest area. So Parrot Coaster is one of our very favorite coasters. It is the longest wing coaster in the world. Or maybe I think it's still longer than Falcon. It is. It's not as tall. Because Falcon weighs a bunch of time, like episode 1 suggested. So, so when you enter the ride, it still says on the marquee, Fly Over Rainforest. Even though the name is officially changed to Parrot Coaster. And even the queue is lush. It goes through a jungle and through these like huts and tunnels. And then you get to the actual station where they split you up. The trains are beautiful Scarlet Macaws that actually light up at night, which I hadn't seen that in a while.
The trains have
actually light up everywhere.
LED lights.
Like all over the train. Not just like the ice, but it's like all over the train.
It looks amazing at night because the track is green and orange and it has the beautiful blue lights on the train. It's just incredible. And the
ride itself is very, very good. The layout is very much designed to kind of blend in with the whole area. So you have a straight first drop, always good. And instead of like an Immelman, you actually have a dive loop. So like you fly over the lagoon and you dive back down to the rainforest, which is kind of sick. Then there's a weird S-turn up, and then you have another straight drop down that goes into the rainforest, which is like a straight section.
Water feature with like water jets and
so it's like a straight section of track that goes really low over the water with like a lot of fog and themed elements and a little river below it. So it's all meant for like the scenic pause. You go by the restaurant, so I guess from inside the restaurant you have this look of like the macaw diving by every time. Yeah. And then there's a zero-G roll. The zero-G roll is followed by a very, very good S-turn into the mid-course break.
It kind of has that classic like B&M like fishhook approach into the mid-course, like Mantis and Riddler's Revenge, like where you hang a sharp quarter left and then into a 3/4 opposite kind of upward helix into the mid-course. Classic B&M move.
And then it gets real interesting. Then it starts really interacting with the rest of the area. So from the break run, you can see the animal exhibit below, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you dive down to the first tunnel. All tunnels are S-turns. So either you navigate underneath the midway in the S-turn or over the midway in the S-turn. So you navigate under the midway in the S-turn. You come back up past the giant tree, the center of the area, which is like a bunch of different birds located on it. It's very much a tree of life, but a little more simplified to be themed to that area.
And it's like a more tropical thing than the baobab tree. But
and so you make a slight turn, and there's the slow roll. And most rides end with a slow roll, but that thing isn't over yet. So a slow roll is over the midway, and then you dive back down under the midway, another S-turn into the final helix.
A really tight upward helix.
Which has the photo op in it, which is actually through the trees and through the forest. So there's a lot of tunnels and forested bits, and then you hit the break run. But the ride itself is very long. Very long.
This ride is best case scenario when you're not building just a coaster, but you're building an entire theme park from scratch and like an entire area that is infrastructurally cradling this roller coaster.
And the great thing is, usually when like a themed area is so based around a mega coaster, like a large roller coaster, this thing's like 200 feet tall. I feel like it usually just gets the coasters is overwhelming, but they did such a good job hiding the coaster. Like there's moments where the coaster's underneath the midway. Like it's below the midway for a lot of the ride.
Walking through the rainforest area, there were moments where you weren't necessarily aware of a colossal B&M roller coaster around you.
I mean, also didn't help that it didn't dispatch very frequently, but there was no one there that day.
The foliage and stuff with the ride blending in so well, it's just best case scenario for this kind of thing. I couldn't imagine it being better than it was. It's like a pipe dream.
And then right in that same area is actually one of the largest exhibits of the park, which is just called the rainforest. What's it called? It has some sort of name.
It's like a freshwater rainforest.
Yeah, it had a name. I think it didn't mention manatees, but there was a bunch of manatees inside.
It had.
I think it was just called the Rainforest Aquarium or something.
It was actually one of the last exhibits that we saw, but still no less impressive.
So we went through, and it puts any manatee exhibit to shame. Like Epcot and SeaWorld Orlando take several seats in back of train because you are nowhere near what the hell Chamling Ocean Kingdom did. So it's a very, very large area, lots of aquariums, and beautifully landscaped. This is not just the building you're in. You really feel like you're in a rainforest, and you're walking through these waterfalls and all these different kinds of tropical fish. And there's little tunnels you can go through, and then there's even smaller tunnels for the kids.
This area actually highlights a lot of like marine life and freshwater animal life that is local. It's part of like the more swampy regions of South China. Lots of catfish. Mm-hmm. The catfish in this exhibit are incredible. Some of them were so huge; they were like the size of.
And the cool thing is that everything in the exhibit felt like it was one. It didn't feel like a bunch of different kind of fish in different kind of aquariums. I don't want to say it felt repetitive, but it felt very cohesive. So and then the main tank, which you walk around, pretty much the exhibit kind of goes around the giant main tank. You keep peeking in and out of the main tank, and then the main tank has the manatees in there, and it's a giant tank. Like, these manatees have so much space. It was awesome. I just can't believe how naturalistic it felt.
The tank was big enough that even though the water was crystal clear, the manatees could disappear into the distance.
There was quite a bit of manatees, but they were like, it was so large that it was sometimes hard to even find one. You're like, where is that? And all of a sudden there was a manatee. You're like, this is crazy. As far as SeaWorld Orlando, the manatee are it's kind of there. It's really not that large. So that was really, really cool.
Well, we love you, SeaWorld. We really do.
We really do, but I just want to let the world know that the Chinese theme parks are not necessarily bad at what they do, like when it comes to animals, because this park, mad respect.
Chimelong Group has it locked up. My goodness. And we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. So that's the rainforest area.
Oh, they have that. They have a parachute drop tower type thing.
Oh yeah, they added
flowers.
Yeah,
really cool. In fact,
they have two. They have a small one and a tall one.
Yeah, imagine like jumping jellyfish at like California Adventure or Disney Sea. Whichever. But giant, and two right next to each other. One twice as tall as the other. We didn't ride it, but it looked really pretty.
And then the next point of interest is the world's largest aquarium, with the world's largest aquarium wall, with whale sharks. And this is the whale shark you saw earlier, like the whale shark exhibit. One side of the park is less developed than the other side of the park. So the side of the park with the Dolphin Cove and the rainforest, which blend together very well because they're very tropical themes, is the one side, but behind that is a mountain. And the other side of the park has a lot more going on. So we're at the end of the park where the giant whale shark is at, and then inside is a giant aquarium. So it starts with a couple of cute, just regular smaller aquariums, which are still pretty decent size.
Really amazing.
And then about halfway through, you turn a corner, and there is the world's largest acrylic aquarium wall, with behind it the world's largest aquarium. And it's so breathtaking. You stand there, you're like, wow. And we thought, okay, so...
We read on the internet that they had two whale sharks.
On the park map, it said our two whale sharks, Starry Night and Starry.
Starry and Starry Night.
So we're like, okay, cute. Like, this is cute names for these whales. Or the whale sharks. So we're inside there, and we see two. We're like, wow, it's Starry and Starry Night. And moments later, we see a third one. We're like, oh, there's a third one. Oh, what's his name? Night? That's so funny. And then we stand in the window for like 20 minutes because we're so enamored. All of a sudden, we start realizing there's not just 3.
There's 4.
There's 4. So we're like, oh my god, let's take a video. There's 4. Look at this 4.
Yeah.
And then we realized how big this tank was. So the tank is way the hell back there. So you can never see all 5 at the same time. Unless you stand there for an hour, which we did.
Yeah.
And so suddenly we're like, 5. Holy crap, there's 5. There's 5 whale sharks in this aquarium.
As soon as we calmed down about the fact that there was actually 4 instead of 3, despite being told that there was 2, there's actually 5.
And we just lost it. We're like, oh my god, this is crazy. And we're like, super fanboying.
And like, I know what you're thinking. 5 whale sharks in one tank, like, that's too many whale sharks. Actually...
5 whale sharks in one tank still means that you don't even see any of them. This tank is so massive. How massive?
Chimelong Ocean Kingdom broke 5 Guinness World Records, all of which they still hold. Including world's largest oceanarium with a total of 48.7 million liters or 12.87 million U.S. gallons of water.
In this tank.
So this is one single tank that is so big that 5 whale sharks practically disappear in it. it was almost impossible to see all 5 of them at once.
Yeah, we tried taking pictures of something.
Because they would go and disappear into like hidden parts of the aquarium and whatnot.
So that was super impressive. And then you go around, there's a couple more smaller aquariums, and then you walk through the aquarium, which I didn't realize, standing at the acrylic wall, that far in the distance there was actually a part where you go through it. And then there's actually another side of the aquarium where there's a dark ride inside the aquarium. So this aquarium is so incredibly massive. Like, I cannot...
Yeah, the aquarium is so big that it has an underwater walk-through tunnel and also 2 dark ride tunnels, and you can't see any of them from each other.
Any of the other windows.
Because even though the water's crystal clear and pristine, because they're so far from each other.
So after doing this amazing...
To say nothing of the thousands and thousands and thousands of other sea creatures living
there was also a giant manta ray, like the biggest I've ever seen. Like one of
the largest manta ray I've ever seen in my life.
It was like the size of a whale shark.
Sea turtles.
It was just like going around that freaking aquarium.
Unbelievable. I mean, just a staggering number.
It's one of those aquariums where like you should be like, wow, you look at this manta ray, you're like, this is so impressive. Yeah. But then you're at that aquarium and you only look at like the giant manta ray, the whale sharks, all these turtles you don't think about, all these giant sharks you don't think about because there's just the largest creatures.
The fact that like possibly the largest manta ray in captivity is in this aquarium is actually overshadowed by the fact that there's 5 whale sharks in it.
And they just dwarf everything. So that's so fantastic. And then there's like there's an electric eel exhibit also in the same aquarium. Which has like...
Wait, no, they're moray eels.
Moray eels, so they are. There's so many of them. So many. I was
and they were so cute. They're all cuddled up together and in like all these different little hidey holes that they have. There was just a ton of different aquariums inside of this greater exhibit that, I mean, we'll never see another thing like this. It was so, I mean, actually, it was so spectacular.
The second gate, the indoor amusement park that's being built by next to Chamonix Ocean Kingdom, is going to beat its own records with the world's largest acrylic wall and the world's largest aquarium tank, which is actually going to house the 9 killer whales that they fish out of the ocean.
Yeah, so right now, the park has the Guinness World Record for being the largest aquarium in the world, largest aquarium window, and the largest single acrylic panel, which is 130 feet by 27 feet, or 39.6 meters by 8.3 meters.
And again, all these records are going to be broken next year when they open their next gate.
Yeah, every record that they broke by opening the whale shark aquarium, they're going to break themselves by opening their orca aquarium.
Yeah, which is only it's only a small part of the giant new indoor theme park next door, but that's discussion we'll have a little bit later on. So that was absolutely fantastic. And then we wrote the dark ride, which is an omnimover that tilts forwards, backwards. Like you're in and out of the aquarium several times, which is really, really cool. You cannot miss that.
It has a bunch of different scenes, including one of an erupting volcano where you encircle the volcano. That's projection map erupting.
There's a lot of other things going on, but they keep popping it out of the main aquarium. And so that was super impressive. One of the greatest things we've ever done. Like that was a standalone attraction. I would have paid $100 to see it. Yeah. It was fantastic, but it's part of the theme park.
Actually, I mean, we went to the aquarium twice throughout the day because it was so spectacular.
I think we spent like 2 hours.
I got emotional looking at it. It was so beautiful. I practically cried. Like I couldn't believe how beautiful and pristine that aquarium was, and just how breathtakingly huge and special those whale sharks are.
And then we moved over to the next area, which was the polar area.
Yes.
Where we were about to ride Polar Explorer, but then we saw the beluga exhibit. We're like, we have to go see this because the beluga exhibit entrance was awesome. Very, very cool. Very large exhibit. Lots of beluga whales. And then we also saw the beluga show, which is one of the best shows I've ever seen. Very, very educational. A very large stadium. They had 8, I think, belugas at once, maybe 6 or 8 in that show. But I think the company has like 38 belugas total, which they also have a different facility where they also have the orcas, where there's more belugas, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
They seem to really have the interest of the animals like at heart. Like the facilities were very clean, very well maintained. I'm not saying this to bash any Chinese people, but the exhibits were filled with Western animal handlers. And from my research, there is several very, very well-known animal trainers from around the world, veterinarians that all work for Charmlong Group now. So animal welfare seemed to be on point except for one exhibit, but we'll go into that in a second. But the belugas were amazing. There was a really, really great show. They had like fake snow, and
this was my first time. I'd never even heard of like a trained beluga show. Like
SeaWorld San Antonio has a beluga show. Azul. Well, they changed the name, but they have beluga show. But other than that, beluga shows are not very popular. Yeah. Are not very much a thing except for Asia. But yeah, this was like beautifully orchestrated.
I didn't realize
awesome.
that belugas were so capable in the same way that like dolphins and orcas.
I mean, there are dolphins.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I just didn't. I get
porpoises
are amazing.
Well,
I just had no idea. I was ignorant to what was possible.
So that was fantastic. And then afterwards, we rode Polar Explorer, which is one of the 2 water coasters at the park. It is a copy, sort of Max. What's it called? Poseidon at Europa Park.
Believe it or not, like this park on paper, the coaster collection seemed a little odd because this place has 2 Mack water coasters, one of the traditional variety and one that's a Mack Super Splash, which has larger boats, but the boats can't turn corners on roller coaster track. If you're familiar with the SeaWorld park, so it's like a Journey to Atlantis type coaster like at San Diego or Orlando, and then like a Journey to Atlantis type coaster at SeaWorld San Antonio, but in the same park, and extended versions. The Polar Explorer is the more traditional 6 or like 8 passenger vehicle water coaster, and the coaster track portion of the ride
isn't until like halfway through.
Yeah.
So you start off and you kind of float through the town, like the Nordic town, and then you take a turn. There's several bear exhibits like outside, and you're also outside. So you're going through the bear exhibits. There's live bears all around you, which is kind of cool. The bears were the only thing in the park where I wasn't the happiest with. They just didn't seem like they were in the right spot, but that's okay. Then the actual coaster starts, which is super smooth. Very, very good coaster. The great thing is that most of the coaster takes place behind the mountain they built for it. So you don't see the coaster when you're on the midway. Anywhere in the park, you cannot see this coaster. You don't see the coaster until you're actually on it, which is great. And then you make your way through the mountain, and you have the first big splashdown, which is located in the big lagoon. And then you go up the second lift hill, and there's the final drop in an airtime hill into the second splashdown. Very, very solid coaster, amazing theming. The queue is amazing. The integration with the midway is spectacular. It was just overall, I don't even know what to say. It didn't feel like a water coaster, which is a great thing.
The layout is the same, like basic layout as, like I guess like Mack has like a standard water coaster layout that has 2 coaster portions separated by a water splash portion in the middle. But I think what sets all of these similar designs apart is the second water splash leading back to the station, and then I guess everything between the station and the first lift hill is different. Like according to Roller Coaster Database, these are all custom designs, but the coaster portions are all virtually identical. So I think that's probably the case, is that they have it's like the coaster track bits are cloned, but the flume parts are all custom to fit the needs of each individual client, which is cool. But yeah, beautiful ride. Yeah, only detractor being the thing with the bear exhibits, which the bear exhibits looked really nice, but I guess I don't know enough about bears to know like what a bear exhibit should look like, but I don't know.
Let's just say that the Polar. Well, let's say this: the entire park is a masterpiece. Every inch of the park is beautifully designed. But it feels like the park started construction with 2 exhibits: the bear exhibit and the penguin exhibit. And I think that's where they realized, okay, we're not doing something right. We're not doing the quality that we should be doing, because everything else in the park is of absolute outstanding quality except for the bear exhibit and the penguin exhibit. They weren't that great. They were filled with animals and they had a lot to see and do, but they just didn't feel like the quality that we've seen elsewhere. Like they just felt kind of Chinese in that matter. And I'm, again, not saying this to be derogatory, but it just did not feel as full of quality and as polished as the rest of the park. The ride itself, however, it was very good. Polar Explorer is the best water coaster of its type that we've ever ridden.
Our hope would be that, like, based on how well all the aquatic animals are taken care of, and like I think the penguins looked well cared for. It was just, I guess,
the exhibit
wasn't really, it was kind of rough around the edges from like a consumer standpoint, but the animal exhibit itself was huge and it looked well maintained. Hopefully, we're just ignorant to, bear keeping and what I guess what a bear exhibit should look like, because we just don't really know. I guess we could do more research on that, but it
definitely still looked better than many you've seen in the U.S. So if that helps,
I guess I would still say that maybe by the standards of the park, the bear exhibit isn't as nice, but probably by the standards of like an American zoo,
or especially for Asian zoos,
or certainly a
spectacular
zoo in the Far East, still really nice.
And then we continued on through the kiddie area, which kiddie area is nice.
The kiddie area was nice.
They have several several attractions. They have a touch pool that's very much like San Diego's entrance to the park, which is very nice. They have a little street, I think it's called Hero Island, where there's a bunch of animatronic characters in and out of the windows, like interacting with the guests. I mean, of course, it's animatronics, but that was very, very nice. They had some performances at night that seemed very interactive. Then there is the newest area of the park, the newest wing. I forgot what it's called, but it's home to a lot of different birds.
Pelican something.
Pelican
it's very aviary oriented.
Bunch of different kinds of birds. There were turtles. There were seals. There were gardens. There was a family roller coaster.
Storks and cranes. Both the kiddie area and the Pelican. I think it's like Pelican Preserve or something. Both of these areas have the park's newest coasters, which according to Roller Coaster Database, the new coasters both opened in 2018, and they're two different Tivoli coasters. The Penguin Coaster, which bridges the Penguin exhibit side of the polar area to the kiddie area, is like a really small, basic, circular
with fog
Tivoli
effects.
Coaster with like fog effects and stuff, and you go through it like
very polished, even though it's the size of the smallest Six Flags coaster.
And then they have Jungle Coaster, which is a larger Tivoli. It's like I think it's like it's the same basic layout as like kind of what we have here at SeaWorld, the Oscar the Grouch kiddie coaster, formerly Shamu Express.
But slightly modified. And
what's funny is it has parrot-themed trains, too.
It's parrot-themed trains.
It's the second of two parrot coasters in the park, but since
and it seems to like go into the jungle. So have like videos, like they kind of set the scene
coaster
inside of the queue. The queue is gorgeous. The station is gorgeous.
It has this giant wasp structure thing that
so the theme is that you go on an adventure and then like you get trapped in the wasp nest and you have to get out. And so they show that like on animation in the video, and it just that's pretty much what it does. And so then it goes through the ride and through those themed elements that you also see in the video. So that's pretty spectacular.
And then from there you work your way back around to Walrus Harbor, or what was it called?
Mount Walrus.
The Mount Walrus area of the park, which is one of the largest areas of the park, has Walrus Splash, which is the park's other water coaster, which has an incredible partial tunnel through a large animal exhibit, which actually has seals in it as opposed to walruses. The huge walrus exhibit is next to the ride. But the Walrus coaster actually goes through the exhibit with the seals in it. Walrus Splash, such a fun ride. Kind of feels more like a shoot-the-chute than a coaster in the context of the two water coasters in the park, because you just go up into the giant lighthouse, and then you go backwards down the little up into another turntable, which turns you back forward, and you're face-to-face with the peak of Walrus Mountain.
Mount Walrus.
It's actually perfect because walruses, when they sit on their fins, they kind of look like a giant mountain of sorts. And you dive down between the two walruses of Mount Walrus and into the splash pool. Spectacular ride that for somehow manages to not feel redundant, even though it shares a park with another Mack water coaster. I guess Europa Park does too, because Europa Park has both rides and they work, but Europa Park also has like a bunch of other roller coasters, and these are two of the three like marquee coasters in the park, not counting the kiddie coasters, and they seem so similar on paper, and yet as we were riding them, the themes are so different, the execution is so different.
And the areas are beautiful. So you have several, like 3 or 4 major exhibits that are woven into the ride, which is just looks pretty like standard. And so they have a giant walrus exhibit that is right below Mount Walrus. So from the Mount Walrus, like you'll see the walruses swim around, and then you look up and you see the giant mountains of walruses with the ride in between. And then the ride Splashdown is actually right next to a seal exhibit where the water is themed to leak from the seal exhibit into the ride.
Oh yeah.
And then there is the actual sea lion exhibit, which is then also part of the pre-lift. So you kind of coast around and you go underneath, you go into the glass tank of the seal. So overall, the area is beautiful. The theme is kind of a mix between, what would you call that? Is it like not Pacific Northwest, like the East?
It's
Cape
like
Cod-ish,
Cape Cod,
but then like Cape Cod meets Pacific Northwest, where it's like gorgeous. So That's really cool. And then, what else do we have in that park?
Well, there's a rock and tug in that area too, like a little fishing boat rock and tug. Well, I think that wraps up like
What the areas are, but then the park also had a giant parade, which is like Disney level.
It had a giant daytime parade and a giant nighttime parade.
And the nighttime parade had like fog and had fire effects and was all spectacular. And then there is the park's closing show, which is a 360 show that was absolutely the most spectacular thing we've ever seen. I don't think I've ever been in such awe. Like, I cried. It was fantastic. Yeah. I'd heard of it, and I saw videos like years ago when the park opened. I was like really hoping they were doing it. I kept asking people. They said, at 8 p.m. So okay, cool. It's called Ocean Resistance. It's kind of like a theme, like the ocean fighting back to people, polluting, which I kind of liked. But like it was so spectacular. So there was perimeter fireworks. There were 7 spots around the park where they would launch simultaneous fireworks. And then there was one main spot of fireworks behind the whale shark. The whale shark statue itself had laser beams on it and projection mapping. The center of the lagoon had a volcano that spat a bunch of fire.
There's a pirate ship.
There's a pirate ship in the lagoon. There is dancing fountains like Bellagio with colors. And then imagine all that happening at once. And also, there's a drone show that's happening above all of this.
There's water jetpack.
Oh my god, yes. There's like
skiers with fireworks.
There's fireworks attached to the so there's fireworks attached to the jetpack water acrobatics, and then there is these jet skis that go around the lagoon in circles that have fireworks attached to them.
You can only see this in China because in America it wouldn't be legal.
So like at this point there's like a dragon of drones flying above the park, spitting fire.
Yeah.
While there's a volcano erupting, there's hundreds of fireworks going off at once. Yeah. There's music everywhere. There's water fountains, and there's like people doing front flips in the sky with fireworks attached to them and water attached to them, while jet skis are going in circles, launching fireworks in front of your face. I cannot believe
water projections happening.
Oh my god, there's so much happening
about the legend of the whale shark.
And there's like it's like a 30-minute show of continuous. And
then after the climax and everything explodes and is spectacular, it dissolves into a dance party, like a house, like Chimelong Paradise theme song dance party.
Yeah, so this is when the park closes. So there's like a half hour of dance party, and there's fountains, and there's still fire, and there's still all these acrobats, and the jet skis are waving at you, and it's just like you're in such awe of what just happened. It is the most spectacular show I have ever even dreamt of.
It's funny insane. Because like we saw.
I cannot believe how insane
we were watching this like the same week that Epcot Forever debuted, and so
Epcot Forever.
So we came home. And we were like, at Epcot, we're like, should we watch Epcot Forever? And I'm like, no, I don't have time to be insulted by Epcot Forever.
So everyone, I would advise you to look up the Chimelong Ocean Kingdom closing show. And even though you're going to see an old version that doesn't have the drone show and is lacking some of the new stuff, you'll see what I mean. Like, imagine that and then upgraded. Absolutely fantastic. And the music is so great. So that just kind of like rounded out our day, and it was probably like
the second time of day that I almost cried.
It was so spectacular.
Like the music was so incredible and the storytelling. Even though we couldn't understand what they were saying, you could feel it. Like
there was just so much going on. It's like complete total sensory overload.
The music, it was.
I think it's the first time it was ever completely sensory overloaded. There was just so much happening all at once, and it was all so spectacular and real and in front of you. Because you just at the water. These like fireworks are launched feet from you, like several feet.
Yeah, this wouldn't work in America.
This would never work in America. But it was so amazing.
The water jetpack people shooting fireworks from their feet. The fireworks.
And then there's jet skis going between
the crowd periodically.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Also, and the water catches on fire at one point. It does like the classic
so
water
they light up the whole. They light up the whole lagoon. This is the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
When there's like a lava scene, but then the show just takes off, and then out of that becomes the world. There's the ocean.
Like there's definitely jet skis riding through fire, water happening as the jet skiers with fireworks attached to their feet do backflips in front of the crowd.
While there are 6 perimeter fireworks shows happening all at once, and with Chinese fireworks, not just U.S. fireworks, like Chinese fireworks. Did we mention that
there's 2 sets of drones? Because it starts with the drones begin as a dragon flying through the air. And then they exchange themselves for another set of drones that turn into a jellyfish that is
and a stingray
in the air. And then it turns into a stingray. Yeah.
So there's a whole drone show too, like an actual professional large drone show taking place above the whole fireworks spectacular. It is insane the amount of elements.
This nighttime show was worth the price of admission.
Oh, totally. I would have paid $100 for that. I would have paid $100 for the bull shark exhibit. I would have paid $100 for the rest of the park. I would have paid like $300
comfortably paid
for like a day there
just to see the nighttime show,
and that's it. Like,
standing ovation.
And then we left the park in complete utter awe. I bought like a hat, we bought like toys, we bought all this kind of Chaimlong shit. We're like, we love this park. I'm gonna get a tattoo on my leg.
Chaimlong Ocean Kingdom bingo set.
we just love Chaimlong Ocean Kingdom.
We just love Chaimlong Ocean Kingdom so much.
And so
we were actually like kind of beside ourselves, and like realizing that we liked this park better than Shanghai Disney was really painful. Hard for us because we were not prepared for this. But we were like, you know what? We were on the fence, then we thought about it, and we're like, what this park has accomplished is so much more impressive. Because, I mean, like, yeah, Shanghai Disney's amazing, but when you're Disney, you can do whatever you want. Of course, you can drop $5 billion on a theme park in Shanghai. It's Disney. It's the most powerful entertainment entity in the world. And then you have Chaimlong Ocean Kingdom, which built a park that is equally as impressive.
If not more so. I would say more impressive.
On a 15-year max amusement park legacy, like a regional Chinese company that means nothing to anyone outside of Guangzhou. Nobody outside of the Kanto region even knows, really. And
you would think it sounds ambitious for them to say we're going to be the next Walt Disney World, but we're not kidding. They have it in them because Ocean Kingdom is fantastic. They have some of the nicest hotels in the region, but there's dolphins swimming in the hotel lobby pools. Like, it is absolutely spectacular. And then
we went up to the Penguin Hotel to get a taxi, and
there's a penguin exhibit in there. And then the hotel is incredible. It's considered like the low budget hotel, and it's still a super nice hotel with views of the lagoon inside the park.
It was.
And then they're opening next year the world's largest indoor theme park, which has the world's largest aquarium, which is filled with orcas. I mean, this entity is building the most spectacular things on Earth.
People may not know about Chimelong, but Disney knows about Chimelong because
Hong Kong Disney is hurting, and Chimelong is doing incredibly well.
Chimelong Water Park took the attendance record away. I mean, Disney had the attendance record for the water parks. They had the number 1 and number 2 attended water parks in the world handily.
For years.
And
Chimelong swoops in both.
And then it was like 2016, I think. Chimelong just one year just came in and took the attendance record away.
By a significant margin.
And now there's distance. I remember there being like millions of people.
And if you think that Chimelong isn't a big deal, we were in the Shanghai Metro, and there were ads for Chimelong Ocean Kingdom, there were ads for Chimelong Paradise, there were ads for Chimelong Safari. Like, Chimelong is known around the country, and people will travel down to go on vacations to Chimelong.
Shanghai is amazing. A 3.5-hour flight from Guangzhou. Like,
that's across the country for them. Yeah.
It'd be like being in New York and seeing an advertisement for, Walt Disney World.
Which you will, but that's the scope.
Yeah.
And so they're also planning on building another giant theme park in the hills and another park. So they're building 4 parks in Henking, which is where Chimelong Ocean Kingdom is, and they're building their Chimelong Forest Kingdom Resort north. So like this theme park company is just like doing what Disney did, but then way sooner and with the same attendance records.
Yep.
And then we try going home.
Yeah, that was.
We try going back to the hotel. So we get to the Penguin Hotel, and we ask the concierge, like, he help us get a taxi. No one understood English, so we used the Google Translate thing. And so they get us a taxi to go to the train station. Train station, half hour away. Because this is very remote. This is on the ocean, remote, next to Macau.
Just beautiful.
Beautiful, but very
secluded. About how gorgeous the setting is. We're like,
the park has its own bay. It's called the Henking Chimelong Bay.
Yeah,
it's their own bay.
Yeah. It's so beautiful and unspoiled by anything. It's 100% Chimelong. Completely, you're in your own little world. It's just a lush jungle valley with 1,000-foot mountains, facing the sea. It's just stupendous. So it's worth the effort. Going as hard as it is to get there, you really just need a taxi.
And it didn't seem to be a problem because 11 million people made it there last year.
Is fine. But it's so worth it because you are just in another place. You are completely in a different place.
And then we had to take a train over. Well, we had to take a taxi over to the train station, which we're like, all right, that's cool, because it's like, at this point, it's 11 p.m. We just left the park, and we have to get back to our hotel, which is 2.5-hour drive away. So we're like, all right, we'll just take a train, so you take an hour, we'll just take a metro. We should
thought
be at the hotel.
We were being responsible.
And no, the hotel said, take the train. Here's the train, a station. So you get dropped off there. And we wait in a forever queue to get to the actual ticket purchasing, and not a single sign is in English. It says like information in English, but then all the information is in Cantonese. So we get to the ticket booth or whatever, and the guy's like, passports. And we're like, shit, our passports are in our hotel in a city 2.5 hours away, where our hotel is. So we end up in the hotel, we end up in a train station, and the guy's like, you can't pay for tickets. We show our Florida IDs, doesn't work. They're like yelling at each other because we're like just giving them the money and we're giving our IDs, and we're giving the phone a translation that says, this is government issued ID from the United States. Please let us buy a train ticket. Eventually, after arguing, they refused us, I should say. And then eventually went to the taxi stand, which had a line outside of about, I won't say an hour, but a half hour. There was just like people, there was a long queue. And we're like, no. And everyone's like, just waiting for a taxi. And so we came up with this genius idea because we could have figured that the taxi's going to tell us to take a train back to the hotel because we're at the train station. But we couldn't take a train. And how are we going to tell the taxi that we couldn't take a train because it wouldn't sell us a ticket? So we had the clever idea to just jump in the taxi, and then the police would make them start moving because we're in the taxi, and then we would just show the business card from the hotel and be like, this is where we have to go.
Yeah.
And so we did, and he said, well, this is crazy, it's so far away, you have to pay for all the express or for the highway, whatever. We're like, that's fine, because they have a lot of toll down there. And so we drove 2.5 hours back to the hotel.
Yeah.
But it was
spectacular. We talked about this in the first episode of the China stuff, but it was like, taxis are really not that expensive. They're like 20 to 25 cents a minute.
We just have wasted so much time on getting a taxi all the way to the train station to then be the train station forever, and then actually to find another taxi.
And we were like, worst case scenario, we'll taxi hop. We'll take it.
Yeah, I was like, we'll just go from city to city to city.
As far as they'll take us, and then find another taxi to take us as far as they'll take us, and so on. But it never got to be that
which
dramatic.
Is nice.
It was fine.
And then the next day, we went to Happy Valley, Shenzhen.
Spectacular highs to crippling, spectacular.
Yeah, so we went from the best day of our trip
to the worst,
besides getting engaged, to the worst day of our trip, which was OCT East and Shanghai at Happy Valley, Shenzhen. It was such a
We started with Happy Valley, Shenzhen, which was a disaster because
first took a 2-hour taxi there.
Almost everything in the park was closed. The invert was open, which we love because it's the original giant SLC with a Copa roll and a vertical loop.
And then 0G rolls. That was really cool.
Everything else was closed.
Everything was closed. They were still building Pulsar, so the mine train was going to be part of the same theme, so they had that down.
They were building a new area of the park that included a Mac Power Splash, which opened a month later, and they were re-theming and re-rock working the mine train, so that was closed.
And then Tibetan Eagles apparently
the SNS compressed air launch coaster was down too, which is a pity because I rode it in 2015 and it was one of my favorite coasters.
So in the park of 5 coasters, one thing was open. At this point, I was like, you know what? Let's just bounce. We didn't even get the cake in front of we were just leaving. So we sat in front of Tibetan Eagle for a second because we thought maybe it'll open, but everyone kept coming up to us saying why are you sitting there? It's not opening. And we're like, damn! If everyone's staff member goes out of their way to come over to us and tell us to leave, then I really don't think we should be here.
We were down about it because it's such a cool ride, but we thought about it we've had so many wins. This park was a dud. That's what we get. I think the takeaway from all of this, we went to Happy Valley, Shanghai on a Friday, and that kind of sucked because Wood Coaster Fireball and the Mega Light were down. We go to Happy Valley, Shenzhen on a Friday, and the park is a shit show. We're like, okay, we just need to prioritize. When we do Happy Valley parks, we have to go on Saturdays. We had designated our Saturdays for parks that were higher priorities for us, and by and large, we were as successful as we could be.
The main reason that we planned Guangzhou Sunac, which is the day after, on Saturdays, because they have that racing, Intamin, Invert, and Blitz coaster, and we were told that only on Saturdays would they run at the same time, so we could race. But it didn't happen, but that's a little bit later on. So then we went from Happy Valley, Shenzhen, we hitched a taxi who was trying to rip us off. We're like, no, we're going to pay less. Anyways, and we took it over to OCT East, which is Night Valley. Night Valley is home to Wood Coaster, which is a spectacular wooden coaster.
Wood Coaster is a beautiful, it's so take a Chinese mountain valley and take Thunderhead at Dollywood and double it in size, and you have Wood Coaster.
And so that park is built in a giant hillside in an abandoned tourist town that was built but never actually used. So it's really creepy. So you get there and it's grandiose. I guess the largest theme park we've ever been to. The largest perhaps in the world. And so we get in there and there's 1 million staircases to go up, 1 million little escalators. Then we get to all these little platforms that have rides on them and they're all dilapidated and pretty crap. And then we eventually make our way to Wood Coaster, which dispatch every 10 minutes, I think. So they just kind of make you wait, and then they bring it to the station, which is a phenomenal roller coaster. Alex, I've ridden it before. I don't even know the dimensions of the ride, but it is grandiose. It goes through the hills. You've probably seen it on Facebook.
It's like over 4,000 feet long. It took them 1.5 years to build it because they didn't use any major machinery. Just for reference, like from the entrance of the park to Wood Coaster is exactly a 1 mile walk.
Yep.
So you do a lot of walking, a lot of going up stairs, up escalators, up broken escalators, climbing hills, swinging from rope vines, some pinfall kind of stuff. Not really. But it was a lot. Getting up to the ride feels like an accomplishment. You can actually rent little taxis from at the bottom of the park to like drive you up to the top. It's the only park I've ever been to that has a taxi rental system. Which, I mean, people who complain about going to a place like Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and it's like, oh, so many hills, oh, so much walking. Like, no.
Night Valley.
Night Valley.
But the main problem with that resort is that the park is so big and dilapidated, and they can't maintain it. No one's there. So, like, it looks so run down. And so we kind of rode the wooden coaster a couple times, and then we took the
Which is really wonderfully maintained. Like, the wooden coaster...
All the money went to the wooden coaster.
In 2015, I could tell that it had track work done. And again, on our visit, I could tell it had track work in other places done. The trains had been maintained. I mean, the trains are not in the best
ride's
shape,
been very well.
But, like, they had the new lap bars, the ergonomic ones from from GCI. Like, they've been putting money back into Wood Coaster. But it appears to be one of the only things that they're putting any money into.
Because we took the this cable car ride, whatever it's called, the cable, the sky ride, to the top of the mountain, very, very top of the mountain. There's a giant glass. There was a glass bridge that is closed.
The mountain is like 2,000 feet up.
Like, and there's a couple of boosters up there which you can ride.
The Fabry booster, like
then there is giant bridges you can look around, and it's really, really, really high up. So it's like, one of those mountains that you walk on top of the mountain. There's like little wooden walkways.
It's so high that like you almost can't even see Wood Coaster with the naked eye because it's so far away.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really grandiose. But the problem is that that's all dilapidated. There is a hotel there that was built on top of the mountain that has been abandoned. Then there is a village that is abandoned. Then there's like a temple that's abandoned, course
and a tulip garden and like a tulip
Then there's tulip garden that you can't even get to.
There's like multiple hotels and golf courses and just like thousands and thousands and thousands of hotel rooms and
all of this ghosted.
And
the middle of the park has a hotel in it, and that hotel is ghosted. The employees live there. There's an old log flume that went through the hotel that you can still see covered in vines.
This resort complex is like the size of Disney World, except almost all of it is abandoned.
Yeah, so like
I'm not exaggerating.
So you're standing there and you see this bridge. You're like, wow, from far away the bridge looks like it's functional. But then you get to the bridge and you look at the bridge and it's like falling apart. There's no handrails. There's a part of the rug. There's the part that fell down. And then you see this giant hotel that's on the other side of the bridge. It's been completely abandoned.
Yeah.
Just like the hotel inside the park. Just like all these villas in the hills that are all part of the same OCT East mega complex that can hardly even get 1,000 visitors a day.
Yeah.
Let alone fill any hotel rooms. And then we did all that, and we're like, wow, this place is honestly a freaking shit show. What a crap. And then we tried leaving, and I saw another bridge, and I was like, this bridge is open, so let's go down this bridge. And we look on the map, and the map shows that
we took the cable car back down from the really high portion of the park back to, like, the Wood Coaster level. And we rode Wood Coaster again, and then we stayed up in the Wood Coaster level of the park and walked through the aviary and zoo, which was a nightmare. Actually, before we thought it was dead. Remember when we saw one of the theaters for one of the shows, and they had a little kiosk, and they were selling pet jellyfish inside of little keychains?
That was really strange. And so then we walk over that bridge to get to the old aviary, which was clearly torn apart by some sort of tropical storm to get in the region. And so we walk into the area, and everything is kind of, all the nets are kind of gone and dead, and it looks like an old zoo. We're like, wow, this is crazy. It's an abandoned zoo. A few moments later, there's actual animals, and we're like, what is going on? Like, there's no one here. These animal exhibits have not been opened in forever. Like, they're just animals, like, living. And if you remember from our first episode, this company does not have animal welfare in their best regard. No. So there's just, like, these little animals living everywhere. There's some dead animals that are on display. For dead insects everywhere on display.
It was literally like a nightmare.
It was really, really creepy. And we keep going and we keep seeing animals. At one point, we're like 20 minutes into walking through this damn abandoned aviary zoo. And instead of these birds being in the aviary, there's like all these birds chained in these little cages.
They had
standing around.
Full-size adult toucans in cages the size of like a dishwasher. It was heartbreaking.
It was really horrible.
I was so upset.
Like, we really hated, like, first of all, it's Chris plays, he, like, goes down, this is kind of cool, but then, like, the moment you see a bunch of animals locked into this ghost zoo, like, I don't even know if anyone, like, how often they get taken care of. There's just all these animals that are just locked in these cages in the zoo that no one's visiting, they're just abandoned.
I was so angry.
Like, we were making a little, like, Instagram story, like, okay, let's explore abandoned zoo, and they were like, shit, there's animals here. There's actual animals in this abandoned zoo. Like, this is not just an old part of the park that's closed off. We entered an actual... Whatever. It was really, really, really freaking bad. And then we tried leaving, and then we actually leave through an old part of the park.
Yeah.
That's no longer part of the park.
Partial, and we accidentally...
That's actually only for employees, but we actually wandered in.
We accidentally wandered into, like, the service road area. There's just a whole bunch of weirdness going on in this park. One of the hotels, which is themed to shipping containers, because it's made out of old shipping containers, painted in bright colors. The shipping container hotel has actually been converted into living quarters.
For people who work there.
We looked at the windows, and there's, like, people hoarding, like, floor-to-ceiling junk inside of their little hotel room hovels.
Everything about that park is so creepy. Even though I have a fully functioning winter coaster, the park is open.
They had a bob cart ride, a vegan bob cart.
That has aviaries in the middle of it.
It has aviaries in the middle. With, like, peacocks inside, but they didn't look maintained.
Creepy, dude. Like, it's really, real, real bad.
Everything you see, like, just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it gets worse. It's so creepy.
We spent, like, a full day at this scary empty park because it's so large, but it was so large.
The park used to have a giant log flume that, like, was probably the longest log flume in the world, because I can't imagine a log flume being any bigger than this. The log flume actually, like, threaded one of the hotels, a different hotel. There's a hotel in the middle of the park, like halfway between the entrance of the park and Wood Coaster, that's, like, abandoned and covered in vines. And there's a log flume that starts all the way at the bottom of the park, like by the entrance, and then travels, like, a half a mile uphill through the hotel, turns around, and comes back down through a series of, like, 5 or 6 different drops of different sizes, including one that threads back through the hotel, down what was once an enormous waterfall feature, and then further down, under and around midways, and into a lagoon, and all the way, I mean, just an incredible, huge, super expensive-looking log flume that wasn't even that old, and it's already abandoned and covered in vines. I mean, truly, like, this is literally a place of nightmares. Like, you could have a bad dream about going to an amusement park where, like, everything is abandoned and closed and dilapidated, and there's people there, but, like... This was it. This was actually a bad dream.
Yeah, it was really creepy. And eventually we made our way all the way down to the front of the park by means of old park midways and employee midways. And we were definitely not supposed to be there. But then we finally got to the front of the park and we left. It was by far the creepiest, most upsetting theme park in the world. Like, I loved it till we saw all the animals.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it was definitely 100%
it was just cool at first, you know, like, wow, it's so abandoned.
It was surreal.
Wow, abandoned. Wow,
culture shock.
Like, wow, we're walking somewhere we're not supposed to walk, but then they see these damn animals, and it was just like, well, fuck, you know. There goes the adventure aspect. Now I'm just mad. Like, why would they even do this? Why don't they sell out these animals that are clearly not making money off of anyways?
We would definitely go back. I would go back to Happy Valley Shenzhen, like,
just to get
on
a
Saturday, just to ride some stuff.
But I've ridden Wood Coaster, I would not come back.
We don't really need to go back to
I don't think they could ever even afford another roller coaster.
Yeah.
There, so
I'm amazed that Night Valley is even still open. Like, it's only a matter of time, I think, for that one, because it's a big fail.
And then last but not least, the next day we were about to fly back to Shanghai, and we started our day in Guangzhou Sunac Land, which is very, very similar to Wuxi Sunac Land in a way that it has, like, cultural, you know, aspects that are very important to it, and it is home to two sets of roller coasters. There is the Arthur ripoff that's themed to flowers and gardens. It's pretty cute. It has some dark ride elements and some coaster sections.
Arthur at Europa Park, the suspended powered family dark ride coaster thing. It was actually pretty fun.
And it had an actual coaster section.
It was a knockoff, but it had a coaster section that turned corners, coasted uphill. Like, it was actually really, really fun.
And then they had the Flying Theater, which is actually one of the best flying theaters you've ever ridden. Super high quality, super high capacity. Like, you filled up the entire theater, and the theater would just flip. Yeah. So instead of, like, it's swinging up like a Disney,
up the stairs up to the top,
and then you just board this platform that just lowers itself,
folds down,
and then everyone's looking at it, and it's very, very high quality. It goes around, you know, the Guangdong province, which is where Guangzhou and stuff is located. And then there is the park's Racing, Blitz, and Invert Launch Coaster, the shuttle coasters from Intamin. You've seen it, the really bright red and bright green coasters. You've seen it all over the internet, I'm sure.
They're not as ugly in person as they are
because
in
the ports are actually slightly different shade of green and red than the tracks are. But the problem is, we were told that on Saturdays would be the only days of the week that they would run both sides simultaneously. Or even run both sides but switch them off. Well, that already ended. The park was empty. It's a Saturday. It's really nice out, but it's just no one at this park.
So that really sucked. Town. It was actually really sad.
So really sad. Like, it's really nice. I mean, it wasn't like our favorite park, but it was a nice park.
On the one hand, we were bothered because, of course, the one side of Dueling Dragons that was open was the sit-down, the Blitz, which, in my opinion, looked like the better ride because it has airtime and like a bunch of squirrely elements that you couldn't really do with an invert. But the invert's more unique. Yeah. The launched inverted coaster, like, it's pretty cool. The ride's spectacular because it's like it has a vertical loop that is, the invert on the outside and the loop, the sit down on the inside, and
then it splits up and has really cool interactive elements. And so we only got to ride the sit down, the Blitz coaster,
which
the red one, which is very good.
4 times, and it's a really good ride in its own right.
Good airtime, very very unique elements. Like nothing was conventional. But that's because it's racing technically. With
it's
that
so
invert.
Good that even if it was just built by itself without the inverted coaster,
would have still been a really good ride. It
still would have been a great ride in its own right. But still kind of sad that the invert was, missing in action entirely. But we also, as much as we, like, as an enthusiast and you travel far away to go to a place like this and the coaster's closed, like, the compulsion is to kind of feel bad for yourself, and I'm definitely guilty of that. But in this case, I was grateful to get the sit-down coaster, and I was grateful to get the rip-off Arthur coaster because that was really fun and different. But really, I just felt bad for the park. Like, I hope, for the park's sake, that they get to a better place operationally because
hopefully, yeah, I
don't blame them.
The train station or the metro station attached is supposed to open, I think, this month.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll bring enough people to the park because it wasn't very accessible. Besides taking taxis, which never works for a giant theme park.
The park has so much potential. We did a big walk around, and it's got like several water rides, flat rides everywhere. There's shows.
Yeah.
They have an indoor coaster.
That's about to open.
That's under construction. So I'm rooting for this park, and I feel like our Wuchi Sunak experience was positive enough that I feel confident about Guangzhou Sunak's future, and I hope for their sake that they get to a point operationally where like they can run both sides of Dueling Dragons on the same day again. Like I get it. Like I'm pretty sure they ran both of the coasters at the same time dueling for Media Day.
Yeah, they had a whole.
And I'm not confident that they ever actually dueled them again
because the park isn't.
Besides, it kind of reminds me of like when they did.
Maybe on Chinese New Year they will, but I ain't trying to be in China.
When they did when Full Throttle opened at Magic Mountain, they actually ran it where like.
They ran it like what?
Well, they ran it where they had the coaster going through the loop and going over the top. No,
that was only for the animation. That would never actually happen because they can't dispatch till the other train. Could you imagine if you launch into the loop, that makes it, but the other one rolls back, you crash into the tunnel? It never ran like that.
Oh.
It was only for animation. In the animation, it goes through and the other one comes over and you're like, wow, it's spectacular. Only animation. It can't run like that. It will crash.
Well, the coaster at Guangzhou can actually do that, except that they don't.
It only happens for like B-roll and stuff.
I would assume that at one point, like our friend Candace, who helped us plan a lot of this, she told us that was our only shot at getting both credits was to go on a Saturday. But I feel like
planned it around it,
and I feel like what happened was
it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it was probably true at the time. That probably was our best bet. But I think operationally, the park has had to slash operations because you just can't run a park like this with nobody in it. It's a beautiful Saturday. I mean, it was, the end of summer. It was the last week of September.
But it was actually already October.
No, it wasn't, was it? No, we came back October 1st.
Okay.
This was September 30th.
Pretty much October.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or September 29th. Or, something like that. No,
but
September 30th.
It was a fun park, and I would go back maybe to ride it again.
I just hope that the park... I hope that they, can get to a place where they're functioning in a way that, would allow for operation of all of their rides, because I don't. Some people think that like China just builds this crazy stuff and then they don't really care. Happy Valley probably doesn't care, but I feel like these parks, they probably would like to run both of the coasters. Even if they don't duel them, they'd probably like for them to both be open. They probably would love to have the attendance that would justify running a dueling coaster, but I just can't blame them for having to only run one at a time when your attendance looks like this. So
yeah,
we're rooting for them, and we hope that they get to a better place operationally. It was kind of a bummer. It was a bummer way to end the trip, which is why I'm so glad that when we flew back to Shanghai the next day, our flight was delayed for 8 hours, and we went back to Shanghai Disneyland.
Which we talked about in the first episode.
Right.
It was a busy day, but yeah, that was fun.
It was super busy. And it really helped us hit home how we felt about Shanghai Disney versus Chimelong Ocean Kingdom.
Yeah. So, speaking of the first episode, I advise everyone who hasn't checked it out yet to check out our first episode. Also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, all that kind of good stuff.
Wherever
our website.
podcasts be listened to.
So go ahead and check that out. We're going to kind of wrap things up as we are already at like almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening again. We will have another episode that's going to talk more about Chimelong Ocean Kingdom versus Shanghai Disneyland. Like, why is it our favorite? Why is Shanghai Disney our second favorite park in the world? And make sure to visit us on the web, dakotakings.com, any of our social media. All these reports, all these parks we talk about in both podcasts, we'll have reports, most of which are out already.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a few left. We're currently working on the final ones. So we'll see you on dakotakings.com, and we thank you for listening. Have a good night
Catch
or
you
morning.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.